much as anyone or more, most of the material you see up there is stuff that Brian ferreted out. And it's been an extraordinary pleasure to serve with him. He and his partner are maybe leaving town, but they've been traveling extensively. It's hard to believe that traveling around the world could be more fun than being on the Virginia-Highland Civic Association board. But apparently it's close. And I want to say that no matter who, we will have a good replacement. Brian has set a high model, but we may never have anybody again edit the newsletter from Namibia, as Brian did this summer. Brian, please come up.
I don't know, I didn't prepare a speech, but no, everybody just make sure you subscribe to the newsletter. That's all.
I've been friends with the last person I'm going to mention, Fraser Dorat, for many, many years. When I think of selfless service to this association, this man and his service has been a model for it. He came to a planning committee meeting out of interest in one particular issue, came to a second one which was a fatal error, and by the third one he was on the committee, and in a short period he was the chairman of the planning committee, where he served until we had a vacancy and as treasurer, and he walked in and took that over. These are two of the more thankless tasks in the Civic Association. This is a person who has just done all of the dogged and dirty work from day one, and has done it with integrity and persistence. This year, he spent an extraordinary amount of time doing three things that really matter: getting an audit that we had to get done out of the way, hiring and getting a bookkeeper going, and redoing the budget in a way that even people like me can understand it. And I'm going to miss him hugely. One of the other benefits is that he came with another partner, but I'm counting on the fact that neither he nor Gloria will be going very far. Fraser Dorat. Well, I think this brings us to the Bylaws Committee. There was some discussion online last week about the bylaws, and here's the way I'd like to handle this. I'd like to move acceptance and put them on the floor, which is the proper way to do this, and then I will be glad to have discussion or entertainments, if anyone would like to have it, about any portion of the bylaws. First, I want to introduce Jenny Ferrara, who's this year's secretary and one of the major authors of the changes with me. And thank you very much, Jenny. We stumbled yesterday on a 2004 Voice article that described working on the bylaws as being as exciting as watching paint dry. But perhaps we can demonstrate that's not entirely true. And let me pick up my copy. So, is there a motion to accept the bylaws as proposed, and we can amend from there? Thank you. Is there a second? Thank you. Properly moved and seconded. I want to describe briefly what the bylaw changes that we know that we addressed are here, and you can tell us what we didn't. The main thing that Jenny did was reorganize them and simplify them so that, in fact, the appropriate sections are in a more logical order, but there are a couple of changes. One of them is that we empower the alternate delegate to be a full voting member of the board in any meeting in which there's any absent board member. And because, although we had extraordinary attendance this year, it is possible for people to miss them. So this is a useful change, in my opinion. We raised ever so slightly the number of votes 6 to 7 for the board to use an email procedure. We actually do not like using email procedures. They have a tremendous capacity to be undemocratic, because in theory, 6 members could pass a motion before 4 or 5 of them even saw it, and there's not a good opportunity to exchange views. So we made it slightly more difficult to at least ensure that 7 people will see, on the board, will see the email motion. And in fact, as a point of fact, we try to avoid using that as a matter of committee. As a matter of form, we established a budget committee and renamed some of the other committees. The budget committee being, in fact, the way it has been in practice, with the officers being in primary control, but chaired by the treasurer and president. And the one that got the attention online today was the following change, in which we added a phrase that said, proprietary information will be made available on a strictly confidential and need-to-know basis. And I'm going to take just one split second and explain what our reasoning was in that. In the course of the past 3 or 4 years, it really comes out of our Summerfest operation. Summerfest has become a big business for this association. It's pretty easy, I think, to lose track of the site because it's a lot of fun and races and kids fests and many other things, and parades and the community dinner, which is one of everyone's favorite part of the year. But this is the business that funds this association. On the average year, 90 cents out of every dollar that we take in and that we spend come from Summerfest. In the course of developing the business model that we currently use, we have developed a fair amount of expertise and special ways of doing things that we would like not to share with the public at large. We have contractors and sponsors who are, in some cases, in the past have paid a considerable amount of money to us that the Summerfest Committee has negotiated very, very aggressively. And in some of those cases, those contractors want the terms of their contract kept secret from the public. They do not want to share it with the public at large, for what we regard as the obvious and simple reason that in so doing, they are likely to subject themselves to difficult negotiations in other contexts. So, when we sign those contracts, we are bound as members of the board to keep those things confidential. Nonetheless, as we looked at this, we had no desire to try to shut off members from access to any information. And what we propose is a bylaw change that would, in my view, allow members to see more information, virtually anything, as long as they accept the confidentiality requirements that we as board members are required by our fiduciary responsibilities to accept. If there is any misconduct or any thought of it, that information can still be shared very widely within this association. It can still be brought to the board. The object of it is that it not be discussed or written about publicly in a manner that hampers our ability to subsequently negotiate favorable terms on subsequent contracts. Lastly, Jenny and I think the two of us are very much the ones who came up with the language, and our goal, speaking I think for both of us, though she is quite articulate, was we were not trying to think of this year or any particular set of circumstances. We were trying to think of 10 to 15 years from now, a model in which none of us were involved, in which we wanted folks to have access to information, but we want to be able to operate Summerfest in a way that has been so efficient. Additionally, I didn't mention that we have had many other neighborhood associations come to us and ask us for information about the way we operate it. The Summerfest Committee and we have always declined to provide it in a friendly fashion, but this is a competitive festival market, and we're trying very hard to protect the way we do business, and that's our reasoning. The Summerfest chairs are here, and if they want to add to that, they can. If anyone else would like to make a motion to change or adopt it or ask questions, they are welcome to do so. Sir.
I guess, not quickly jump to zoning, right? Thinking about anything the neighborhood association would be negotiating as regards to zoning. And I think the more people that, and anyhow, I just want to, and just a general concern, I should say, then, is there any way to limit the language more to be about the topic you're trying to have it apply to? Anyway, just thinking that, you know, as, anyhow, just as it applies to zoning, you know, I think the more people that understand what's going on, the better there.
Tim, thank you for your question. I was asking Jenny just for her comments on it. As defined in the new definitions, it says trade secrets, know-how, proprietary business methods, confidential information developed in connection with the operation and management of Summerfest, tour of homes, or similar operations. It is true that as we sometimes react tactically to planning issues, that we don't necessarily write every single thing we're thinking about immediately on there just as a matter of tactics, but this organization came to light on the basis of a public fight, and we believe in operating publicly and saying what we mean and meaning what we say in a very public way when it comes to policy issues, and that's always the way we've operated, because it's the best and most effective way to operate, in my opinion. So I don't think anybody dreamed of that. I don't think we did that unintentionally, but I don't think we did that. Any further discussion of the bylaws, please?
My name is Tom Budlong. I'm a 20-plus year resident of Virginia-Highland. I'm on the board of directors of the Georgia First Amendment Foundation, and we're a public advocacy group for open meetings and open records in Georgia. I ran this situation by our executive director, and based on the position that the Civic Association has as far as variance approvals and other such things, it's our opinion that the Civic Association is subject to the open meetings and open record laws, and I would like to encourage the membership to vote against this today. I think this opens up the Civic Association to people suing the association because of open meetings and open records. If the association has any work product that is important enough to protect, you can always copyright manuals and that sort of thing. Under open meetings and open records, any negotiations that are done by a government or quasi-governmental agency, while you're negotiating these contracts, you can have secrecy, but once these contracts are signed, they are public record. And anyone, not just Civic Association members, but any citizen of Georgia, the press, whoever wants to look at these records can. I think we need to look at ourselves, and we are doing the public's business, and I was particularly impressed today after the history lesson that we had on the Civic Association. I think the people who founded this association, the early days of the association, who were fighting to save this neighborhood, would be appalled at any attempt to make these secrets. So I would like to encourage the membership to please vote against this as it's currently written.